Bride hears groom's lie minutes before the wedding. What she does is shocking. Jessica Thompson adjusted her veil one last time when she heard voices coming from the hallway. Only 15 minutes remained until the ceremony she had planned for 2 years, and her heart raced with anxiety and happiness. That's when she recognized the voice of Brandon, her fiancé, talking to Tyler, the best man. The words she heard made her blood run cold. "Tyler, are you sure no one will find out about the documents?" Brandon said in a low voice, still audible through the slightly open door. "Dude, relax. The divorce papers you faked are perfect. No one will know you're still married to Amanda," Tyler replied. "Grandma Betty will never find out and you won't lose the inheritance." Jessica felt her legs tremble. She leaned on the vanity, trying to process what she had just heard. Brandon had lied about being divorced. For 2 years he had sworn the divorce was finalized, that he was free to marry again. "It's just that Grandma is really old-fashioned, you know. If she found out I left Amanda and was marrying again, she'd cut me out of the will immediately," Brandon continued. "She always said marriage is for life. That's why you were smart to keep it on paper. Amanda doesn't even care. She lives in another city anyway," Tyler said. "And Jessica will never find out. You can fix it later, little by little." Jessica covered her mouth with her hand, stifling a scream. She was technically the other woman, the mistress. Unknowingly, she was about to take part in bigamy. Her world collapsed in seconds. Outside, they kept talking as if nothing was wrong. "The worst part is Jessica's mom even sold the family jewelry to help pay for this wedding," Brandon said, a hint of guilt in his voice. "Mrs. Thompson saved for months." "Ah, but you'll make it up to her later when you get Grandma's inheritance. You'll give Jessica a good life," Tyler replied, as if that justified everything. Jessica closed her eyes, remembering how her mother had insisted on contributing to the wedding. Dorothy Thompson had worked as a seamstress her whole life, raising 3 children alone after her husband abandoned them when Jessica was just 10. The jewelry was the only reminder she had of happier times in her marriage. The voices faded down the hall, likely heading toward the altar. Jessica stood alone in the room, dressed in her wedding gown, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The white dress she had chosen so carefully now felt like a cruel joke. She had to make a quick decision. Outside, 150 guests waited. Her family, friends, co-workers, all believing they were about to witness the start of a happy new life. Jessica took a deep breath and left the room. She needed to find the wedding planner. Maybe there was still time to cancel everything before it began. She found Anthony, the coordinator, checking last-minute details in the garden where the ceremony would take place. The small town of Clear Springs in upstate New York had prepared for what was supposed to be the wedding of the year. "Anthony, I need to talk to you, urgently," Jessica said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Of course, sweetheart. Is everything okay?" "You look a little pale," he replied, concerned. "I need to cancel the wedding. Now. Before it starts," she said bluntly. Anthony's eyes widened. "Cancel? Jessica, it starts in 10 minutes. The guests are seated, the music's ready. I don't care. I found out something about Brandon that changes everything. I can't marry him." Anthony sighed and pulled out a folder of documents. "Jessica, I understand that pre-wedding nerves can cause anxiety, but canceling now would be a huge problem. The contract you signed includes a clause that prevents last-minute cancellations. Brandon paid everything up front, and it's non-refundable." "What do you mean non-refundable?" asked Jessica, incredulous. "It's right here in the contract. Cancellations with less than 24 hours notice result in the total loss of the amount paid." It was almost $50,000, Jessica. The bride felt pressured. $50,000 was a fortune for her family. Her mother had contributed $15,000, money that represented years of savings. "But I have a serious reason. Jessica, unless it's something illegal, I can't just stop a ceremony with 150 guests waiting," said Anthony, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Jessica realized she needed a different strategy. She ran off to find her sister Ashley, who was helping organize the guests. "Ash, Ash," she called, running down the hall of the venue. Ashley turned around, smiling, but quickly grew worried when she saw her sister's desperate expression. "Jess, what happened? You're white as a sheet." I need to tell you something, but we can't talk here. Come with me. The two went to a more secluded corner of the garden. Jessica quickly told her what she'd overheard. Ashley was shocked. No way! Brandon seemed so in love with you. Ash, I need your help. I'll try to call Ms. Sullivan, but first I need you to do something for me. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now back to it. What do you want me to do? Pretend you're sick, really sick. That way we can delay the ceremony while I try to sort this out. Ashley nodded without hesitation. The two sisters had always supported each other in tough times. Leave it to me. I'll make a big scene. As Ashley headed to the venue to carry out the plan, Jessica tried to call Ms. Sullivan, the lawyer who had handled the wedding's legal paperwork, but her phone had no signal. Jessica stared at the device, confused. That morning, the signal had been fine. She tried several times, but nothing. It was as if something was blocking the calls. From the venue, commotion erupted. Ashley had fainted right in the middle of the hallway, causing exactly the chaos they needed. "Help, the bride's sister is sick," someone shouted. "Call a doctor. Maybe it's best to delay the ceremony a bit." Jessica took advantage of the confusion to go up to the hotel room where Brandon had gotten ready. She knew he always left his laptop open, and maybe she could find some evidence of what she'd overheard. The room was empty. Everyone had gone downstairs to see what was happening with Ashley. Jessica opened the computer and went straight to the email. Her fingers trembled as she typed the password she knew, Jessica 123. Brandon had never been very creative with passwords. What she found left her even more upset. There was a recent email exchange between Brandon and someone named Amanda Wilson. The messages were clear. "Brandon, I can't put this off any longer. My family is pressuring me to marry Michael. I need the divorce finalized urgently." "Amanda, you know I can't do that now. My grandmother is very sick, and if she finds out about our separation, I lose everything. Give me a few more months." "You promised me this would be temporary. It's been 2 years since we separated. It's not fair to me or to Jessica. Jessica won't find out anything. After I get the inheritance, we'll sort everything out." Jessica felt sick to her stomach. Amanda seemed like a decent person, also a victim of Brandon's lies, and there were more emails showing that the situation had been dragging on for a long time. She quickly took pictures of the screens with her phone, creating evidence. At that moment, she heard footsteps in the hallway. "Jessica, what are you doing here?" It was Grandma Betty, Brandon's grandmother, a 78-year-old woman, elegant and imposing, who had come from Boston especially for the wedding. Jessica froze for a second, but then decided she had nothing left to lose. "Grandma Betty, you need to know something about your grandson." The older woman entered the room, closing the door behind her. "Go ahead, dear. You look visibly upset." Jessica told her everything. Every detail of what she'd heard, the emails she'd found, the lie that had gone on for years. She expected Grandma Betty to be shocked, maybe even defend her grandson, but the reaction was completely different. "Oh, that foolish boy," the woman sighed, sitting in the armchair. "I knew he was up to something." "You knew?" "Jessica, dear, I'm 78 years old. I didn't get this far by being naive. 3 months ago, I hired a private investigator to look into Brandon." Jessica was stunned. "An investigator?" "My grandson started acting strange, very anxious about money, always asking about my will. That made me suspicious," Grandma Betty explained. "I found out about Amanda, about the marriage he kept on paper, about the lies he told everyone." "And why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to see how far he'd take this charade, and also because I already had other plans." Grandma Betty opened her purse and pulled out some documents. "This is my new will, Jessica. Signed last week. Brandon won't get a single dollar of the inheritance. But then, the inheritance will be yours, dear, if you accept it." Jessica couldn't process what she was hearing. "Mine? But why?" "Because over these 2 years I've come to admire you. You're hardworking, honest, and you cared for your mother with dedication. You're exactly the kind of person who should manage the family's affairs." "Grandma Betty, I can't accept this." It wouldn't be right. It'd be more right than leaving it in the hands of a liar, the woman said firmly. But there's one condition. You have to expose the truth to everyone today. The families deserve to know who they were dealing with. Just then, Tyler walked into the room without knocking. Brandon's looking for you, Jessica. Your sister's feeling better and... He stopped when he saw Grandma Betty. Grandma Betty? What are you doing here? Talking to my future heir about how to expose the truth about my lying grandson, she said bluntly. Tyler paled. I can explain. Can you explain how you helped my grandson forge documents? How you encouraged him to deceive an entire family? Grandma Betty asked, standing up from the armchair. Grandma Betty, Brandon really loves Jessica. He only did this because he was afraid of losing her. Afraid of losing the inheritance, you mean? Jessica corrected. Tyler, I heard everything. The two of you talking about how I'd never find out, about how clever it was to keep the marriage to Amanda on paper. Tyler tried to argue, but Grandma Betty cut him off. Young man, I suggest you go prepare your friend for what's coming, because the truth will be revealed to all the guests in just a few minutes. Tyler ran out of the room, clearly desperate. Jessica looked at Grandma Betty. How are we going to do this? I can't just go up to the altar and tell everyone. Leave that to me, dear. I have experience handling difficult situations. The two of them walked down to the hall together. Ashley had recovered magically, and the guests were being reseated for the ceremony to finally begin. Dorothy, Jessica's mother, approached her worriedly. Sweetheart, where were you? I thought you'd given up when I saw Ashley feeling sick. Mum, I need to tell you something very important, but after the ceremony. Is everything okay? You seem different. Everything will be fine, Mum. I promise. Jessica hugged her mother tightly. Dorothy had sacrificed so much for this wedding. She had worked overtime for months, sold her only valuable jewelry, all because she believed she was helping her daughter build a happy life. The music began to play. It was time to start the ceremony. Jessica glanced at Grandma Betty, who gave her a discreet nod. Go ahead, dear. Trust me. Jessica walked down the garden aisle under a beautiful arch of white flowers she had chosen herself. The guests stood up, smiling with emotion. Camera flashes sparkled everywhere. Brandon waited for her at the altar, handsome in his dark suit. For a moment, Jessica almost doubted what she had discovered. He looked so happy, so in love. But then she remembered the words she had heard, the emails she had read. Father Patrick, who had known Jessica since she was little, began the ceremony with a warm smile. Dear friends, we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Brandon and Jessica. Jessica tried to focus on the priest's words, but her mind was in turmoil. She looked at the guests, her family on the left, Brandon's family on the right. Everyone was waiting for a joyful moment. Brandon Miller, do you take Jessica Thompson to be your wife? Do you promise to love, honor, and be faithful to her in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, all the days of your life? I do, Brandon replied, looking into Jessica's eyes with apparent sincerity. Jessica Thompson, do you take Brandon Miller to be your husband? Do you promise to love, honor, and be faithful to him in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, all the days of your life? Jessica hesitated. This was her chance to stop everything right then, but something made her continue. I do. Then, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you... One moment, Father Patrick. The voice came from the back of the hall. Everyone turned in surprise. It was a woman no one recognized, blonde, elegantly dressed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to speak with the groom. Brandon turned pale as paper. It was Amanda. Amanda! What are you doing here? He stammered. I came to deliver the signed divorce papers, she said, holding up a folder. I thought you'd like to receive them in person. A murmur of confusion spread among the guests. Divorce? What divorce? I don't understand, said Father Patrick. Brandon, you told me you were single. Father, I can explain, Brandon began, but Amanda cut him off. Brandon Miller is still legally my husband. We've been separated for 2 years, but he always made excuses not to sign the divorce papers. The silence in the hall was deafening. Dorothy looked at her daughter, confused and concerned. "Jessica, what's going on?" Then Grandma Betty stood up from her seat in the front row. "I'll explain what's happening," she said, her firm voice echoing through the hall. "My grandson lied to all of you." "Grandma, please don't do this," Brandon begged. "Brandon kept his marriage to Amanda on paper so he wouldn't lose the inheritance I'd leave him. He thought I wouldn't approve of a second marriage." The guests began whispering among themselves, shocked. "And what's more," Grandma Betty continued, "he forged documents to make Jessica believe he was divorced." Dorothy stood up abruptly. "He forged documents? My daughter was going to be part of a bigamy?" "Unfortunately, yes," replied Grandma Betty. "But there's more everyone needs to know." She paused dramatically. "I've known everything for months. I hired a private investigator to look into Brandon when I first started suspecting his lies. Brandon tried to speak, but no sound came out. And that's why last week I changed my will. Brandon won't get a single dollar from the family inheritance." "But Grandma," Brandon managed to whisper. "The inheritance will go to Jessica," Grandma Betty announced, looking lovingly at the bride. "Because over these 2 years, I've come to admire her character, her dedication to family, her honesty." Jessica felt her legs tremble. It all seemed like a surreal dream. "I can't accept this, Grandma Betty," she said into the microphone so everyone could hear. "It wouldn't be right." "What would be right, my dear, is if my grandson had been honest from the start," the older woman replied. Amanda, who had stayed quiet, asked to speak. "Can I say something?" she asked. Father Patrick, completely lost in the situation, simply nodded. "Brandon isn't a bad person," Amanda said, looking at Jessica. "He's a coward, yes, a liar too, but I know he really did fall in love with you, Jessica." "How can you say that after everything?" Jessica asked. "Because I've known him for 10 years, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you," Amanda replied. "The problem is, he was afraid of losing you when you found out the truth, so he chose to lie." "But Amanda, you were hurt by these lies too," Jessica said. "Yes, but I also have to confess something. I also delayed signing the divorce papers because I had financial matters to settle. I didn't want to give up the alimony I get from him." Amanda looked at the guests. "I came here today because I decided enough with the lies and half-truths. Everyone deserves the full truth." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. At that moment, a male voice came from the entrance of the hall. "Jessica!" Everyone turned. It was Robert Thompson, Jessica's father, who was supposed to be away on a business trip. "Dad? What are you doing here?" Jessica asked, surprised. "Miss Sullivan called me last night. She said she'd found some irregularities in the marriage documents and that I needed to come back urgently." Jessica looked confused. "But my phone wasn't getting a signal." "Because I asked the carrier to block calls from this area for a few hours," Robert said. "I needed time to investigate without you being warned." Robert walked up to the altar, carrying a folder of documents. "Jessica, as your father, I had an obligation to verify the documents Brandon provided. And I found out all the divorce papers are fake." Brandon tried to run, but Tyler grabbed his arm. "Man, where do you think you're going? Face this like a man," the best man said. "Tyler's right," Robert said. "Brandon, you need to take responsibility for your actions." Then Ashley approached the altar holding her phone. "Jess, I recorded the whole conversation you heard this morning," she said. "I thought you might need it as proof." "You recorded it?" Jessica asked. "Yes, and I already sent it to Ms. Sullivan. She said she'll take the necessary legal steps." Dorothy, who had been silently processing everything, finally spoke. "Jessica, sweetheart, I need to confess something to you too." "Mom?" "I didn't sell all my jewelry to pay for the wedding," Dorothy said, tears in her eyes. "I only sold some. The rest I kept in a secret account." "Why?" "Because a mother always has a feeling when something isn't right. During these months of preparation, something told me you might need money to start over." Dorothy hugged her daughter. "I have $40,000 saved. It's for you to rebuild your life however you want." Jessica began to cry. All the emotions of the day finally overflowed. "Mom, you've sacrificed so much for me." "That's what mothers do, sweetheart. They protect their children." Jennifer, Jessica's godmother, who had stayed quiet during the whole ordeal, stepped closer. "Jess, you know you have a place to stay at my country house while you figure things out, right?" she said. "It's peaceful there. You can heal emotionally." "Jennifer, no arguments. You're my goddaughter. I'll take care of you." Brandon, who had remained silent during the recent revelations, finally spoke up. "Jessica, I know I ruined everything. I don't deserve your forgiveness," he said, his voice breaking. "But I need you to know my love for you is real." "Real love isn't built on lies, Brandon," Jessica replied, wiping her tears. "I know. I was a coward. I was afraid of losing you when you found out the truth about my financial situation, about the pressure from my family. The truth always comes out, Brandon, always. Jessica, if you give me a chance, I'll go to therapy. I'll figure out why I lied so much, why I was so weak." Amanda, who had listened to everything, stepped forward. "Brandon, you need to work on yourself before trying to build any relationship," she said. "Jessica doesn't deserve to be your emotional guinea pig." Grandma Betty, who had observed the whole conversation, made another announcement. "Jessica, dear, my offer still stands. The inheritance will be yours, but with one condition I'd like to discuss with you." "What condition?" "I'd like you to turn part of the family business into something that helps other women, a support center for women who need to rebuild their lives." Jessica looked at the older woman, surprised. "A support center?" "Yes, with legal, psychological, and financial guidance. So other women don't have to go through what you did today." The idea moved Jessica deeply. For years, she had worked as a social worker and had always dreamed of having the resources to help more people. "Grandma Betty, that would be amazing, but I don't know if I'm ready to manage something that big." "Amanda could help you," Grandma Betty suggested, surprising everyone. "She's a trained administrator with experience in business management." Amanda looked stunned. "Me? Why not? You two were victims of the same situation. You could turn this negative experience into something positive for other women." Jessica looked at Amanda. There was a strange connection between them, a mutual understanding of what they'd been through. "What do you think, Amanda?" "I think it would be a way to give meaning to everything that happened," she replied, "and a way for me to make up for going along with the lie for so long." Father Patrick, who had watched everything in silence, finally spoke. "Well, this certainly wasn't the ceremony I expected to celebrate today," he said, with an understanding smile. "But sometimes God has different plans than ours." "Father, what do I do now?" Jessica asked. "How do I end this respectfully for everyone?" "Jessica, you've already done the most respectful thing possible. You chose the truth," the priest replied. "Priest, now you need to choose your own path." Jessica looked at the veil in her hands. That symbol of purity and new beginnings now meant something completely different. She stepped up to the microphone one last time. "I'd like to say a few words to all of you," she began, her voice steadier than it had been all day. "Today I discovered that the man I was going to marry lied to me about something fundamental. He's still married to someone else. I found out that for 2 years, he kept this lie to avoid losing an inheritance." The guests listened in complete silence. "But I also discovered beautiful things today. I learned that my mother loves me so much, she secretly saved money in case I needed to start over. I found out my father traveled 600 kilometers to protect me. I learned that my sister recorded evidence to defend me." Jessica looked at Grandma Betty. "I discovered that generosity exists in unexpected places. And I realized that sometimes the biggest disappointments can turn into the greatest opportunities." She held the veil with both hands. "I'll symbolically tear this veil because it represents a life built on lies," she said, and did exactly that, ripping the delicate fabric in half. The guests were moved by the gesture. "But I'll keep this dress," she continued, looking at the beautiful white gown she wore, "because one day, when I find someone who deserves my complete trust, I'll wear it again." Applause began to echo through the hall, first from Jessica's family, then from the other guests. And I accept Grandma Betty's proposal. I'll use the inheritance to create a support center for women who need to start over. Together with Amanda, we'll turn this painful experience into something that can help others. Brandon approached her one last time. Jessica, I'm going to therapy. I'll work on my issues. And if one day, in the future, when you're ready, if you want to talk, Brandon, you need to grow first. You need to understand why you chose lies over trust, Jessica replied. Maybe one day we can be friends, but that will only happen when you become someone who can be trusted. Amanda stepped closer to Jessica. Can I talk to you privately? The two moved slightly away from the others. Jessica, I want to apologize. I knew Brandon was lying to you, and I should have told you the truth sooner. Why didn't you? Because I was being selfish too. The alimony I get from him helps me care for my sick mother. I was afraid of losing that if I forced the divorce. Jessica understood. It was a complicated situation where everyone had made questionable choices for understandable reasons. Amanda, how about we start fresh? As partners and, who knows, friends. I'd love that. The two hugged, to the surprise of everyone present. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. Dorothy approached the two. Girls, how about we go home? I'm sure you're emotionally exhausted. Mom, there's something I need to tell you, Jessica said. About the money you saved. What about it? I'll use part of it to help with the center we're creating, but most of it I want you to spend on yourself. You've sacrificed too much for me over the years. Sweetheart. No arguing, Mom. You deserve to travel, buy nice clothes, pamper yourself. It's time for you to live for you. Dorothy began to cry with emotion. How did I raise such a special daughter? By learning from the example of the best mother in the world. Robert joined the family. Jessica, I'm so proud of how you handled everything today, he said. You showed remarkable maturity and dignity. I learned from you, Dad. You and Mom always taught me that the truth may hurt, but it's always better than lies. So what's next? What are your plans? I'll spend a few days at Jennifer's house to process everything. Then I'll start working on the support center with Amanda. And Brandon? Robert asked. Brandon needs to focus on his own life. If he really wants to change, he'll have to do it for himself, not for me. Grandma Betty approached the group. Jessica, dear, I need to talk to you about the practical details of the inheritance. Grandma Betty, I'm still not sure if I can accept this. Sweetheart, you saved my family from much greater shame. If Brandon had managed to keep up that lie, how many more people would he have deceived? The older woman said. You did what was right, even though it was painful. But it's so much money, so much responsibility. That's exactly why I know you're the right person to receive it. Someone who worries about responsibility is usually the one who handles it best. At that moment, Tyler approached timidly. Jessica, I wanted to apologize too. Tyler, you knew everything, and let me go through with it. I know, it was wrong, so wrong. I thought I was helping my friend, but I was really enabling an injustice. Why are you apologizing only now? Because seeing everything here today, seeing how you faced the situation with dignity, taught me a lesson about what character really means, Tyler said. You could have made a scene, could have humiliated Brandon in front of everyone, but you chose the truth with grace. Jessica looked at Tyler. She saw sincerity in his eyes. Tyler, we all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them. Jessica, if you and Amanda need help with legal matters for the center, I'm a lawyer. I can help you free of charge. Why? Because I want to do something to make up for the harm I helped cause. Jessica nodded. Thank you. We'll definitely need legal help. Jennifer approached with a bag. Jess, I brought some more comfortable clothes for you. How about changing out of that dress and we head home? Jessica took one last look at the white dress. You know, Jennifer, I think I'll keep it exactly as it is, with a few tear stains, a little wrinkled from the rush of the day. Why? Because then it'll remind me of the real story, not the perfect fantasy I imagined, but the truth that set me free. Jessica went to change. When she returned, wearing a simple navy blue dress, she looked like a completely different person. Lighter, freer. "Ready?" Jennifer asked. "More than ever." Before leaving, Jessica stepped up to the microphone one last time. "Everyone, thank you all for being here today. I know it wasn't what you expected, but it was exactly what I needed," she said. "Sometimes life gives us gifts wrapped in strange ways. Today, I received the gift of truth. And for those who traveled from far away, please feel free to enjoy the party that was already prepared. The food is paid for, the music is booked. Celebrate friendship, family, and the real love you have in your lives." Warm applause echoed through the hall. Jessica walked out arm in arm with her mother, followed by Ashley, Robert, Jennifer, and, to everyone's surprise, Amanda. "Where are we going now?" Amanda asked. "To Jennifer's place. Have some tea, talk about our plans for the center, and maybe watch a silly movie," Jessica replied, smiling. "Can I come too? It's been ages since I've had a normal afternoon with friends." "Of course. I think we all deserve a normal afternoon after such an intense day." Mrs. Thompson looked at the two young women walking side by side. "You know you're going to be very happy working together, don't you?" she said. "Why do you say that, Mrs. Thompson?" Amanda asked. "Because both of you learned today that the truth, even when it hurts, is always better than the most comfortable lie. That's the foundation of any solid partnership." On the way to Jennifer's house, Jessica reflected on the day's events. That morning, she had been an anxious bride, about to marry the man she loved. Now, as evening fell, she was a single woman, heir to a fortune, a future social entrepreneur, and most importantly, someone who had chosen truth above all else. Her phone rang. It was a message from Ms. Sullivan, the lawyer. "Jessica, I heard everything from your father. I'm preparing the documents to formalize the inheritance and also to settle Brandon's legal situation. You made the right decision. Congratulations on your courage." Jessica showed the message to Amanda. "Looks like our new life is officially beginning," she said. "On the right foot," Amanda agreed, "built on truth from the very start." At Jennifer's house, the five women, Jessica, Amanda, Dorothy, Ashley, and Jennifer, sat on the porch, sipping tea and watching the sunset. "You know what?" Jessica said suddenly. "Today was the best day of my life." "How so?" Ashley asked, surprised. "You found out your fiancé was a liar, almost got married illegally, went through enormous emotional stress. But I also discovered who truly loves me. I found out I have an amazing family, a wonderful godmother, and I gained a friend and partner who'll help me fulfill a dream I didn't even know I had." Jessica looked at Amanda. "And most importantly, I learned I'm stronger than I thought, that I can face the truth, even when it hurts." "And what did you learn about love?" Dorothy asked. "I learned that real love begins when you learn to love yourself first. Brandon loved me, yes, but not enough to trust me with the truth. And I loved myself so little that I was willing to accept crumbs of honesty." Amanda nodded. "I learned that too. I stayed in a situation that made me unhappy for so long because I was afraid to start over." "And now?" Jennifer asked. "Now we'll start over together," Jessica said, "and we'll help other women do the same." Dorothy raised her teacup. "A toast, then, to new beginnings, to painful truths that set us free, and to friendships born in the most unexpected places." They all toasted, laughing and talking until nightfall. 3 months later, the New Hope Support Center was in full swing. Jessica and Amanda had transformed one of the inherited properties into a welcoming space with rooms for psychological counseling, a free legal clinic, and vocational training courses. Tyler kept his word and was handling all the legal aspects of the center free of charge. Grandma Betty visited weekly, offering administrative advice and delighting in the positive impact her decision had created. Brandon started therapy as promised. He officially divorced Amanda and was working an ordinary job, trying to rebuild his life on honesty. He and Jessica spoke occasionally as cordial friends, but nothing more. Jessica achieved what few people do, Dorothy would tell anyone who'd listen. She turned the biggest disappointment of her life into her greatest triumph. The center had already helped 53 women in 3 months, stories of fresh starts, resilience, and discovering inner strength. Amanda was radiant managing the project, finally doing something that truly fulfilled her. "You know what?" Amanda said to Jessica one afternoon as they organized the files of the women they'd helped. "I think we should thank Brandon." "Thank him?" Jessica laughed. "Yes, if he hadn't lied, maybe we'd never have met. Never created this project, never helped so many people." Jessica thought about it. "You're right. Sometimes the bad things that happen to us are exactly what we needed to get where we're meant to be." "Exactly. And look, Amanda held up a letter she'd just opened. "Sarah, remember the first woman we helped? She got the job at the school and is moving into her own home." "How wonderful. And Deborah? She finished her administrative assistant course and is already working. Said she finally feels independent after 20 years in an abusive marriage." Jessica smiled, looking around the center. That place was full of life, hope, and real new beginnings. "Amanda, do you think people believe us when we tell our story? That 2 women who were deceived by the same man became business partners and friends?" Amanda laughed. "I still find it a little surreal sometimes. But it happened. And thank goodness it did." That night, Jessica was at home in the small apartment she rented near downtown when the phone rang. It was Grandma Betty. "Sweetheart, how are you?" "I'm good, Grandma Betty. Really fulfilled with the work at the center. Jessica, I need to tell you something. I got a call today." "From who?" "A journalist from New York. She heard about the center's story, how it started, and wants to do a feature on you." "A feature?" "Yes. It seems our story has inspired many people. She said she's received dozens of messages from women wanting to know how to start similar centers in their cities." Jessica was surprised. "People wanting to create other centers." "Exactly. Jessica, you've created something bigger than you imagined. A movement." After hanging up, Jessica stepped onto her apartment balcony. She looked at the stars and thought about the journey she'd taken since that Tuesday morning 3 months ago, when she discovered the lie that changed her life. She had lost a deceitful fiancé, but gained a true friend, a life purpose, and most importantly, she had discovered her own strength. Her phone buzzed. A message from Amanda. "Jess, just got an email from a woman in Miami. She wants our help setting up a center there too. I think we're really making a difference." Jessica replied, "We'll talk about it tomorrow, but it's so good to know our story is helping others start over too." As she got ready for bed, Jessica thought of something curious. On the day of her cancelled wedding, she had said she'd wear the dress again when she found someone who deserved her trust. Now she realized that person had been herself. She had learned to trust her own strength, her ability to make hard but right choices, and her worth as a person. The dress was still in her closet, no longer a symbol of romantic fantasy, but a reminder of the day she chose truth and discovered who she truly was. Before turning off the light, Jessica wrote in her journal, "Today marks 3 months since what should have been my wedding day. Instead, it was the day of my rebirth. I've learned that the greatest love we can find is self-love, and that the biggest disappointments can become the greatest opportunities when we have the courage to embrace truth." The New Hope Support Center has helped over 50 women, and now other cities want to create similar centers. Who would have thought one man's lie could birth so much truth and hope? Amanda has become my best friend and life partner. Mom is finally spending money on herself and traveling. Dad is proud of me. Ash has a wonderful boyfriend who's treated her honestly from day one. And Brandon? Brandon is learning to be a better person. I don't know if we'll ever have anything again, but I know now, for the first time in my life, I'll only accept a relationship based on complete truth. Today, I'm a stronger, wiser, and happier woman than I was 3 months ago. Sometimes the greatest gift life can give us is showing who we truly are when we face our biggest challenges. Good evening, world. Thank you for teaching me that a happy ending isn't always what we expect, but often it's exactly what we need. The end of the story. And now, dear listener, tell us, do you think Jessica made the right decision? Do you know a similar story? Leave your honest comment below. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.